Hey folks, just I'm back on my phone because there is again a power cut. I'm very sorry for it. So yeah, I'm streaming with from my phone now. Hopefully the bandwidth is decent. Okay. So sorry for that. Sorry for this mess up. Just a sec. Yeah, I'm here and yeah, I believe some of you have joined in. Thank you for joining in. Sorry for the mess up. Now I'm doing it from phone, so you'll see a slightly lower quality of stream. But I hope all of you can see me. Okay, let me just move my. Hey folks, I'm extremely sorry for the mess up, especially in terms of. So just a second. Okay, device. Okay. Okay, I'm just placing my phone here. So what's wrong with this? Okay. Okay, I think I'm live now on my phone. Extremely sorry for this mess up. Yeah, the power cut, the summers are kicking in. Yeah, I think our batteries did not kick in for the Wi-Fi, and I think the inverter takes a while to kick in. Sorry, folks. Yeah, we'll continue the session here, and we'll wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to join in. And I'm doing this from mobile phone, so you may see a little bit of low quality video. I still have 4G. Hopefully, this should work. But I'm still seeing the comments in the comment section. We'll try and answer as many as possible. Okay, so just let's wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's just wait for a couple of minutes and we'll try and answer as many of those as possible. Okay, just a couple of minutes. Okay, this looks good. Let me also open this on my laptop. Hey, thank you, folks. Thank you for the new website. I mean, it took us a while to build it and to deploy it successfully. For most of the students, there are no problems, which is very thankful because we took a lot of care to ensure that the problems are minimal, if any. There are a couple of students who have a small login problem. That's why we kept the old site also up for a couple of days. We'll bring it down as soon as all of you have as soon as everything is good. Okay. So just give me a second. Let me look at this. Just give me a second, folks. Where is my videos here? Okay, I have the video comments here. Okay, we'll wait for a couple of minutes for everyone to move from the older live stream to the new live stream. I'm doing this live stream from my mobile phone, so you might see slightly lower quality stuff here, lower quality video stream. Sorry for that. Might see slightly. Okay, I'm also seeing my own video stream here. So let's see how the whole thing goes through. Okay, sounds good. So I think since most of you have joined back here, thank you for that. Sorry for the goof up. Again, I'm just joining everything on 4G so that there are no hiccups for anyone, even if there's a power cut. Okay, yeah. I think most of you have joined back here. Sorry for the mess up with the power supply. Summer's kicking in, the power supply going off, and takes a while for the inverter to kick in. So in that split second, the Wi-Fi and the internet connection goes off. Sorry for that. Again, back to the discussion. So where were we? I'm going through some of the questions that are here, right? I'll also go through some of the concepts or some of the topics that you have put in the live chat. I'll come to that. Since we have limited time, we'll try and answer as many as possible, right? So we're talking about the job scenario for freshers. We have seen tons of freshers who have built strong portfolios, who have cracked machine learning jobs. So that's something that I'm not worried about. The key thing here is to showcase your skills. And the best way to showcase your skills is to build a strong portfolio. Nothing beats that. To be honest with you, nothing beats the fact that you have a strong portfolio. Okay, so that's the most important thing. If I have to pick one thing which is the most important to crack a machine learning job, I would say it is building the. I would argue that it all boils down to building. I would argue that it all boils down to. Okay, let me just rotate the device here, so that there might be a better. Okay, so I'm just rotating the device here, just so that rotate device. Yes. Okay. Anyway, that's okay. Let me see what is the best way to place this. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, anyway, let's fix it here. Okay, let's go question by question. Okay, so I hope the second question is clear. Is what is the scenario for machine learning jobs in India? It's pretty healthy right now. There are a ton of positions in India. no major hiccups in terms of number of positions that are open in India. And more importantly, if you have the skills and if you can showcase your skills and convince the hiring managers, the sky is the limit for you. Okay, we have seen this with hundreds of students who have gotten placed, right? We have seen this personally. Okay, we have had people who had no background whatsoever in machine learning and data science. We have successfully transitioned at the end of applied AI course with a very strong portfolio that they've built, right? So that's something that I'm not worried about at all. Okay, so the third question here is, this is a very good question by Mukunda. It's also very highly rated. The question says, in our course, we have a huge amount of mathematics. Should we remember all the equations and formulae? Very good question. My suggestion to you or to any student who has this question, this is a very often asked question. And my answer is, don't remember the formulas by heart. If you ask me to derive logistic regression today, I don't remember the formula at the top of my head. Okay, I derive it from first principles very quickly because I've done it hundreds of times, right? I know that there is a loss function, which is logistic in nature. I know there is a regularizer, which avoids overfitting, right? So I know each of the components that should be there in a logistic regression. And when I don't remember it by heart, okay? Because remembering it by heart is like useless, to be honest, because that skill is useless because you remember today, 2 years down the line, you'll forget it. But if you understand the concept from a foundational level, right? Especially if you understand the concept from a foundational level, it's much better because you understand what each of the components of the mathematical formula is, and more importantly, this is more important. More importantly, you understand how things came into being, right? So when you learn mathematical formulae, my strong recommendation is don't remember them by heart, because that's what we've done in the course also. We have arrived at each of the formulae in the course from first principles. We first draw a simple diagram. We look at the geometry, we look at the linear algebraic equations, and then slowly we arrive at the formulae, right? We don't do it the other way, which is, okay, oh, here is a formula, here is a solution. No, that way you'll not learn, trust me. The approach that we've taken is the first principles approach in the course. So if you understand the first principles approach, and if you can replicate on your own, right? So that's why I recommend each of the students to write notes. Whatever you understand, write notes in the terminology and with the diagrams that you understand best. So knowing mathematical formulae is important, but not by heart, logically. Okay, even if you make, so if I ask you, okay, how does SVM work? All I'm expecting is not for you to write the exact formula, exact constraints, all of that. I want you to be able to arrive at it logically, not remember it by heart. If you remember it by heart, it's useless skill. You'll forget it 1 month later or maybe 1 year later. But if you remember it logically, okay, SVM does a margin maximization. So there has to be a margin maximization which works as a regularizer. Then there is a loss, which is the hinge loss. Okay, so you work out slowly based on these first principles. Okay, first understand what is SVM, how is it connected to other models, what is the loss minimization interpretation of it. Of course, there are a couple of advanced mathematical concepts that we skipped, like for example, primal dual equivalence. Okay, in optimization, we skipped that intentionally because it involves a ton of mathematics, which is not critical. But if you have time, we have given you additional reference material to learn that also. So please don't remember formulae by heart. Try to arrive at them from first principles the way we have done in the course. But knowing formulae, or not knowing by heart, but understanding formulae intuitively. Okay, understanding formulae from the first principle derivation is important. That's very, very important. You cannot skip that because people ask you that, right? And even if people ask you some boundary cases, for example, if people ask you, how does logistic regression work if you have outliers in your data? To answer that question, you have to be able to think about it from the loss minimization perspective. What is the exact optimization problem that logistic regression is solving, right? Now you have this logistic loss. How does this logistic loss work if there is an outlier? Okay, you have the regularization term. What happens to regularization if you have an outlier term? So when people ask you these interesting questions, these real world questions on how things work when there is an outlier, you can answer it very clearly and correctly and very crisply and neatly only if you understand the mathematical equations and by thinking from the mathematical viewpoint itself. Again, we have covered this extensively in the course. For example, we cover each of these cases, right? How logistic regression works if you have outliers. All of these cases, what if there is sparsity? How does logistic regression work? All these are important cases which are important in the real world, and hence we covered it in the course. Okay, so please don't remember mathematical formulae by heart. please remember or please understand them foundationally from first principles and have the ability to derive them. That's extremely important. I cannot emphasize this. If it was not important, I would have not covered it in the course videos itself, right? If you think about it logically, I would have just skipped it altogether. Anyway, sounds good. So let's go to the third question here. Okay, let me just rotate so that I'm in the middle of the screen. Okay, I think I'm a little skewed. Okay, so the next question here is, this is the most important question that I liked the most. Okay, this is a very, very important question that I wish more students ask us. The question here is by Rahul. His question here is, what is the average and highest salary for freshers in machine learning roles who completed applied AI course? Very, very good question. I'm happy to answer it also. So let's, again, average is a wrong number in statistics, because if I have a bunch of students, we have a bunch of students who have gotten somewhere around 18 to 24 lakhs. Okay, those people will skew the average, right? So it's very important not to talk about average, but about median. Median is like the central figure. Okay, so that's a much more appropriate number, because average can be skewed towards one side by a few extreme points. If I have one student who got 40 lakhs package, okay, that student will skew the whole average, right? But he will not skew the median much. So to give you the numbers, the typical median salary that we observe, again, it changes from month over month, but the typical number we see for freshers who have completed applied AI course is about 7.5 lakhs in India. We're only talking about India here. The average Indian median salary, the 50th percentile salary, is about 7.5 lakhs. Of course, it changes based on the month, based on the type of students we have, etc., etc. Number one. The top packages that we have seen in India are anywhere between, again, it changes from month to month or quarter to quarter, but it's roughly around that 18 to 21 lakhs package. Okay, and these are people who got placed in top-notch product-based companies like Microsoft, Flipkart, etc. Okay, these companies, even for freshers, pay a very, very healthy salary, and that's where the bracket is. Again, we have a bunch of people who got placed in those companies who have that 16 to 21ish or 18 to 21ish type of salaries. Okay, these are mostly product-based companies. It's also very important for us to tell you the minimum salary. Okay, the minimum salary, to the best of our knowledge, is about 4.5 lakhs. Okay, and of course, the whole salary itself, it's a very valid question. Why is there such a huge variance? That's because of how well students have studied, right? This is very, very important. See, all we can do is we can teach you, we can mentor you, we can help you, we can handhold you, we can talk to you. But at the end of the day, there is a ton of effort that you got to put in. The quality of effort, especially the quality of portfolio of projects that you build, and how good you are with the content, that determines where you will get placed. Okay, we have had students who have tanked very good interviews. We have had students whom we did not expect clear terrifically hard interviews. It all boils down to this: how well have you assimilated or absorbed the content in the course? How good are your case studies? How well have you done your assignments? These are the things that we believe most strongly determine your success. Okay, and the salaries that I'm telling are just for freshers, not for experienced folks. I'll come to the experienced folks in a little while. So for the experienced folks, again, there is a huge variance there, based on, again, how well they've absorbed the content, how well they've done the portfolio of projects, how well they have prepared, right? So all of these are super duper critical, even for experienced folks. For experienced folks, again, it depends on the breadth of experience. Is it 2 years experience or 10 years experience, right? So for experience, this is a question that, again, repeats itself a lot of times, right? For experienced professionals, it's extremely important for you to, again, we tell this often to many of our students, is suppose you have experience in banking domain, let's say. Okay, you take that experience in banking domain, you learn machine learning, start doing some projects as part of your team which involves machine learning if you can. If your team or if a manager or senior manager lets you do that, great. If he doesn't, or if he or she doesn't let you do that, take up problems on Kaggle or on the internet, data sets that are available which are in the banking domain. That's very, very important. Take up these problems from banking domain and solve these problems end to end. So now what are you doing? You are leveraging the experience and expertise and domain knowledge that you have in banking domain. You're mixing with machine learning and AI skills that you have recently picked up. And now when you apply to new roles, you can connect the dots, right? And typically what we have seen, again, this depends from person to person. We have seen anywhere from 20% hike on the least to even 200% hikes for some of our experienced professionals based on how well they've done. Okay, we have seen people with 200, even 250% percentage on top of the current salary. Because for an experienced professional, the best way to measure is, if X is my salary, what is my salary after the machine learning course? Okay, again, it varies very widely. That's because of the students, right? See, remember, I'll tell you one more very interesting thing here. Okay, we thought a lot about this problem. We make applied AI course open to everyone. We don't put an entrance exam and say, oh, I'll only take the top 100 people or the top 1,000 people. Because if I do that, thousands and thousands of students will not be able to make it and get the best of what we're trying to offer, right? So if I put an exam, if I put in an entrance exam, I can get everybody after the entrance exam 20 lakhs packages. That's what IITs do, right? What do IITs or IISc or any of the top institutions do? They set in a very hard entrance criteria. They let only a very small percentage of people who want to learn come in. And because these people are already very good to start with, they're extremely hardworking, their foundations are strong, right? They're typically very good problem solvers. Since they let in only a very small percentage of people through their gates, it's very easy for them to get very good placements, right? If we follow the same methodology, okay, if I put in an entrance exam and I say, I'll only take these people who clear my entrance exam, then it's very easy for me. Then I can get my average package to about 16 to 18 lakhs, just like any IIT or IISc is. That's easy, right? But then the problem here is thousands of students who want to learn will not be able to learn. That's the whole reason why we started Applied AI course. Because we want to make world-class education accessible and world-class mentorship and guidance accessible to everyone. That's the goal. If that were not the goal, I could have just put in an entrance exam and taken only the best of the best and created world-class institution, which is limited to only a few hundred students a year, right? So this also matters a lot. Again, somebody was asking about what is the median salary for an experienced professional. That is hard to pin down because somebody with 2 years experience has a different base salary, the current salary, compared to somebody with 10 years experience. We even have some people with 15 years experience. Their base salary itself is different, right? So it is better to measure the percentage increase in salary, right? And the percentage increase is very, very healthy. Again, it has a huge range, but the percentage increase, especially for students who have completed Applied AI course, is very, very healthy. Okay, this is something that you would not get using simple transitions from one simple job hopping. And your career also starts in AI, which means you have a much more longer path to go ahead. Okay, so it's a very good question. So the next question here is, okay, I'm also looking at the live feed on my smartphone, so I'll try to answer as many as possible, even in the live feed as it comes through. Okay, the next interesting, very good question, which is highly voted here is, can you give a live session on prospects for machine learning and data science as career in India? Because I feel there's a lot of hype about the industry and we really don't know how much of a hype is justified, how much of it is just noise. Because a lot of people are just jumping into ML and DS because it's the hottest field. In the probability live session, Srikanth mentions that not many people in India know machine learning as they know medium. Yeah. So that's true. So the question here in a nutshell is, points which can be focused are, so this gentleman is requesting for a live session on job prospects in AI and machine learning and data science in India. We'll certainly do one of those in one of the future sessions. We'll try to accommodate that in one of our future sessions. But in a nutshell, let's be honest here, there is a lot of hype in the market. We got to be honest with ourselves, right? There is a lot of hype. I've seen people who can just do simple Excel operations like pivot tables, sorting, searching, simple stuff, who can write a bunch of SQL queries calling themselves data scientists. They don't understand what is a Gaussian distribution. They don't understand what is KS test. They don't understand the basic statistics. Forget about advanced machine learning techniques. Oh, and even what they know about k-means is, okay, k-means groups points together. They don't know how it works internally. They don't know how things change. If I change the k-means formulation slightly or if I change the data set slightly. Okay, so there are a lot of imposters, unfortunately, because there is a lot of hype. This happens every time, right? Look at it. In the 90s, even in the early 2000s, there is a lot of hype about software engineers. Everybody was calling himself or herself software engineer. Everybody. Whether they can write 5 lines of C code or whether they can build a full-fledged operating system, they were calling themselves software engineers. So software engineer became the most misused job role. Even people who didn't know basic of how binary search works, people who didn't know the basics of how simple sorting algorithm works, they were calling themselves software engineers. Okay, these are the foundational stuff. People who don't know stack, queue, very basic stuff. People who don't know what is inheritance and object-oriented programming, they would call themselves software engineers. This sort of thing is very, very commonplace in the job market. When there is a hype, people will call themselves that without even knowing the foundations. That is unfortunate, but there is certainly, while there is some hype, it's also important to realize that there is a lot of value being created, right? Companies, at the end of the day, hypes only live for a very short while. Hypes cannot live this much for this amount of period of time. Number one. Number two, you can fool a few people, but you can't fool the whole society. It's much harder. There are exceptions to this, but it's much harder. Some of the top companies in the world, some of the largest financial institutions, some of the largest internet companies, all of them are investing billions of dollars in AI and machine learning. They are not fools. They have thought through at least some part of it, if not completely. And these are people who do a lot of thorough analysis and don't fall into traps like hype, right? So I believe that while there is some hype, there is also some value, a lot of value, not just some value. There is certainly a lot of value in machine learning and AI. Another interesting metric is the Turing Prize for this year was announced just a week back or so. It is given to three pioneers in AI and deep learning. Okay, that itself shows, again, Turing Prize, which is almost like the Nobel Prize for computer science. You cannot fool those guys. Okay, those guys know a hell lot of computer science. Those guys know what is hype and what is not hype. Okay, those guys are pretty smart. So very fact that a lot of top institutions, very deep thinking institutions and companies and organizations believe and also showcase value. This is not just about belief, this is about showcasing value. Look at how many millions and billions of dollars are being minted today because of value created in data. There is hype. See, for anything that has value, there will be hype. Let's be realistic about it. Okay. So you have to cut through the hype, and you have to focus on the core foundational stuff. For example, in the late 90s and early 2000s, the so-called software engineers who didn't know basics of data structures, algorithms, basics of even databases, who called themselves software engineers, became third-grade software engineers in the long run because they never focused on learning the foundations. They never focused on learning the foundations. They always focused on the fancy titles, the fancy new tool. They never learned the foundations, right? So they never ended up becoming good, solid software engineers at top-notch companies or top-notch startups. They have never become that. They're stuck in their own world learning a new fancy tool. Please don't be that. Learn the foundational stuff, become good at the foundational stuff, then you have a much longer career in that field. Okay, while there is hype, there is certainly a lot of value also. You got to understand what is bullshit and what is not. Okay, and that takes a certain type of acumen. And if you focus on foundational concepts, you're cutting through some of that bullshit. Okay, sorry to use this word in a public forum, but it's important that we are clear about it. Okay, so the next question, again, a very highly rated question here is, I'm a registered student of Applied AI course. How can I complete this course in fast track mode as I have some free time? Very good question. So this is very important. So my suggestion, if you want to complete the course in fast track, is this: break up your day. See, if you're doing it full time, or if you're doing it, whether you're going to college or you're going to a workplace, fix a time. Fix a time. Like you can say, I want to work from 4:30 in the morning to 7:30 in the morning. These 3 hours will be unadulterated, no YouTube, no WhatsApp, no email, nothing. I will just focus on learning for these 3 hours. After the first 90 minutes, I'll take a coffee break and then I'll get back to work. This is what I do. Otherwise, I can't create content for so many courses. It's almost impossible for me to create content because through the day, I have 100 things that I need to take care of. So I start typically my recording of videos at 4:30 in the morning. Wake up at 4:30 is when I start. Okay, from 4:30 to almost 8:30 to 9:30, I get uninterrupted time. Completely uninterrupted time. I just make some coffee, make a couple of eggs as my quick breakfast. That's it. Okay, and I focus completely. I try to get most of the key work of the day done in that period, especially the video recording part, writing the notes, right, answering the hard questions, all of that stuff. So my suggestion to you is fix those times. If you can break your day, all the time that you have got, break it into 90-minute sessions. In that 90 minutes, try to finish at least 45 minutes of video content. Okay, or at least 40 minutes. Again, this differs from person to person. Some people in 90 minutes might be able to digest 30 minutes of content. Some people might be able to digest 45 minutes of content. Some others might finish 90 minutes of content, right? But when you're writing content, when you're absorbing the content, try to understand it from the foundational concepts. Any question you have, leave it in the comment section. We'll respond back as soon as possible. If you have noticed, I don't know if you've noticed or not, we have started answering much more quicker than the 24-hour SLA that we have given you, right? Our promise to all of our students is that we'll answer most of the questions in 24 hours. But if you have noticed in the recent past, especially in the morning hours, we are doing it much, much faster. That's because we want to clear your questions as fast as we can, right? We're not even waiting for the 24-hour deadline to pass. We're trying to do it much, much faster. Again, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's why we gave you 24-hour time period, but we're trying to do it faster. Okay? I hope this is very important, right? So if you have more time, you'll have more of those 90 minutes. If you have more of those 90 minutes, finish off the content and start doing the assignments. Okay? It is very possible. We have seen students who have finished the whole course, including assignments, in maximum 2.5 months. Okay, we have had some interns last summer. I think some of you know this, right? We have conducted an internship exam last year, and we got in a bunch of students who didn't know any machine learning. And these people, within the first 45 days, they learned everything, and they started doing projects. They finished the course content, everything. Within 45, I think 60 days was the most that we gave them. And they actually ended up doing a couple of very good projects, and then they graduated from the internship. That's a very good sign of things, right? That's superb. So within 3 months, they did end-to-end everything they've done. And of course, if you sit on it full time, like 10 hours, 12 hours a day, you can comfortably finish this course in under 2 months. Okay, it's very doable. Okay, sounds good. So let's also go to the live session a little and see some questions that are coming in there. Okay, so here is a question that's coming in. It says, how to prepare for top-notch companies, top-notch product-based companies, okay, for both software engineering and machine learning roles. For software engineering, you got to be good with programming, you got to be good with data structures, algorithms, lot of practice problems and stuff like that. You got to be able to solve a real-world data structure algorithm problem in 20 to 25 minutes. For machine learning roles, the content that we have is fairly sufficient for most product-based companies also. Except for a few research-based roles, extreme research-based roles, our content may not be sufficient, but for 99% of product-based companies, our content is comfortably sufficient. In addition to that, you got to be comfortable with data structures algorithms. I think I've mentioned this multiple times. At top-notch companies, you would have one round, typically one round or maybe 2 rounds of data structures algorithms, and we give you pointers based on your performance in the mock interviews. If you think that you're ready for product-based companies, we handhold you through that journey also, and we help you get into those product-based companies. And we have a bunch of people who got through product-based companies through Applied AI course. In addition to preparing for machine learning, also they prepared for data structures algorithms. And by the way, because this has been a very often asked request from us, we are working on a data structures algorithms course for software engineering. For software engineers, fresher software engineers, or people who want to move from services companies to product-based companies. We're working on it. We should have something ready by end of this month. We're working on it at full speed. That's the other course that I'm working full-time on, in addition to Applied AI course. There's also this other question that came in one of the comment section is about the teams, right? So we have dedicated teams for each of our courses. We have a full-time dedicated team for Applied AI course. I also spend considerable amount of time on Applied AI course in addition to other courses. As some of you may know, we have a GATE course now. We're also working on a data structures algorithms course for people who want to move to software engineering roles. Each of these have different teams, so that every student of every course is taken care of perfectly. So we have fully dedicated teams. I do some of the content for some of our other courses. We have other instructors who do content also. So, and I try to balance my time across all of these courses and set the right roadmap, the content guidelines, how we service our students, all of that stuff. So we have dedicated teams for each of our courses. So don't worry about it. There shall be no delay. Actually, we are increasing each of our team strength also, so as to cater to our students better. Okay, sounds good. Where am I? So where are the general questions here? Yes. So most of the internships I found out were related to web development, how to find internships related to machine learning, what is the scope of BTech fresher to start career in machine learning. Okay, so I discussed this in one of the previous questions, right? On how a fresher can crack machine learning roles. Again, there are internship roles. You can check it out on Internshala or reach out to us. There are a bunch of internship roles also, especially if you're a third year student, not very close to the graduation. So some of our students who are in second year and third year, once they complete the course, we help them transition to an internship role at a good company. wherein they learn hands-on skills, and some of the students who have interned through us have gotten full-time offers also, right? So that's something that is working out very well. Of course, there are a ton of, so for any role, whether it's an internship role or a full-time role, it's very, very important for you to showcase your skills through problems that you solve end to end. Write a blog, write a detailed blog. Again, your blog should not be like, again, it's a good question that came in one of the live session, in the live chat sessions. How long should my blog be? Very good question. See, if you write 100-page blog, nobody will read it. An ideal length, this is a rule of thumb that I learned from Amazon. Amazon has this concept called 6-pager documents. Anything that you want to communicate to the senior management, you write it in a 6-page document and send it. You cannot cross the 6-page document. Every major product that Amazon has released in the last 20 or so years was started off as a 6-page document. So your whole project, you got to do it in under 6 pages. Think about it as 1,000 words. I mean, give or take. Of course, you'll have diagrams and other stuff also. So the simplest idea is write your blog, try to print it. If it is more than 6 pages, cut it. Because if you write a 100-page blog, first of all, nobody will read it. And it showcases that you can't communicate your ideas clearly. If you have solved a real world problem and if you can't communicate it in 6 pages, you're wasting others' time. And 6 pages can be read in 20 to 25 minutes. That's a typical, I mean, if you're a manager who has read enough documents, 6 pages can be read in about 20 to 25 pages, in about 20 to 25 minutes, assuming that it's not very, very hardcore, dense thing. Okay, so my suggestion is, if you're writing a blog, if you're building a portfolio, please stick to 6 pages as a good rule of thumb. Okay, sounds good. So, okay, here is another question. I'm a final year BTech student and I'll finish by May. I don't even have a job in hand. At the same time, I want to build my career in AI and machine learning. Please suggest me. So it's a good question. There are a lot of students who approach us with this. My suggestion to you is this. First, ask yourself, why have you not succeeded at not cracking a job in your BTech? Most likely because you don't have the foundational concepts in computer science. If you're a computer science student, it's most likely because you don't have foundational knowledge of programming. Okay, so my suggestion is pick up programming, become decently good at it, crack a job. It's not rocket science. Of course, I'm glad that you're interested in AI and machine learning. We have had some students who are just like you, who joined applied AI course, worked very hard and cracked a job. But if you don't work hard, you'll not be able to crack a job. There is no excuse from hard work, folks. I mean, this is the biggest takeaway from any of my sessions. If you don't work hard, I mean, even God can't save you. Okay, if you work hard, even God can't stop you. Okay, for an atheist like me, I would say nothing can stop you. Okay, so of course, you might have short-term hits, short-term roadblocks, but in the long run, you will win. So if you're a BTech student who do not have a job, please diagnose why you do not have a job. Most likely because you're not strong with programming or some basic computer science stuff, right? So please try to learn that programming, or else check out some of our free videos on Python. Okay, you'll get a good sense of how to think about from a programming mindset. Again, AI is going to take much more time to land a job in because there's so much learning that you have to do. Let's be honest here. Okay, see, if you try to get a typical programming job, it will be faster and you'll land in a job faster than an AI job. Because for AI job, there's a ton of stuff that you got to learn from scratch in addition to programming, right? So it will take you longer to crack an AI job as compared to a typical software job, typical Java, Python, whatever it is, right? So my suggestion is first prepare those programming languages, become decent at it. If you want to learn Python, we have some free content on our website. Please go check it out. Okay, land a typical job and then start working on AI, because it's like you want to shoot for the stars. So just build a small bridge first, right? Of course, if you're like, okay, I don't want any other job except AI job, please reach out to us and we'll help you. We'll help you understand how much effort is needed, how much persistence and how much time it would take for you based on where you stand right now. Okay, sounds good. This is a good question actually. There is a news that there is oversupply of data scientists. People are taking courses and entering the market. In this case, what is the future for an experienced 10+ year non-machine learning professionals? Very good question. The oversupply is of people who don't have skills. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll give you an example, right? We are trying to hire for our own teams at Applied AI course. And we give a very, very handsome salary, even for freshers. We give more than that median package that I told you, right? We give terrific salaries for freshers, and we don't care which institution you come from. I don't care whether you come from Stanford or IIT or MIT. Okay, the way we typically recruit for a applied AI course is basically we say, do you have the skills? Show me your work. I don't care whether you come from a tier 3 college or a tier 1 college. I don't give a damn. Show me your work and let's discuss. Okay, we do a couple of interviews. If they match, then we start taking them seriously and we start hiring them. And we give a pretty healthy base compensation even for freshers with no experience. And we are struggling to hire. Okay, and there are tons of companies like us who want good, and we are not going to negotiate on quality. Okay, I don't care whether you come from top-notch institution or top-notch company. If you do not have the quality that we're expecting of you, sorry. Okay, I don't care. I don't care about your pedigree. I only care about your skills. Okay, so today we are struggling to hire even ourselves. Okay, and the best way for us to hire is our own students who do well. So our own students who get job offers from other companies, we make a counter offer for them and we try to hire them. Okay, some of them join, some of them don't. Right? So there are tons of, the oversupply of data scientists is data scientists who don't know the foundational stuff. Data scientists who cannot tell me what is hinge loss and how does it work, and how does logistic regression work when I have outliers and all of that stuff. So again, in any role, right? In any role, there is a spectrum of people. Even in software engineering, right? There are some people who can barely write some Python or Java code, while there are software engineers who can build world-class software, like who can build like extremely large scalable systems. Like they can build a whole database end-to-end, or they can build large-scale web crawlers. So there is a huge spectrum there. Just because you have the title software engineer doesn't mean everybody is the same. There are some people who cannot even implement binary search if I give them half an hour. There are people who can build a very, very nice prototype of a world-class system in half an hour. They can design the whole world-class system like WhatsApp in half an hour. Right? So there is a huge spectrum there. Even in data scientists, there is that spectrum. The so-called oversupply. Actually, there is no oversupply in the marketplace because we come across hundreds of companies that are struggling to hire good data science and machine learning folks. So there is actually no oversupply. There is an oversupply of incompetent people. That is the reality. And I'm being very fair here. I'm being very frank because I interview for applied AI course extensively. I've also interviewed for Amazon. Okay, we used to pay a top dollar, both in India and the US. And we struggled to hire. Companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they're struggling to hire. And they're willing to pay a top dollar, literally top dollar. But still they're struggling to hire. Which means the so-called oversupply of data scientists don't have the actual foundational skills needed. Of course, a company like Google or Amazon or Flipkart or Facebook would not lower their quality. Actually, I was talking to one of my friends who works at one of the top-notch companies in India. It's literally one of the top recruiters in India, one of the highest salaries also. So they went to some of the top institutions in India. I don't want to name the company or the institutions. And they struggled to make even a single hire. They could not get a single person. And they're willing to pay, like for a fresher, they're willing to pay top-notch dollar in India. They couldn't hire a single person. Everybody was giving some gyan about concepts, but they didn't know foundational stuff. Okay, they were just taking some TensorFlow code here, there, they're cooking up something and showing it. But when you ask slightly twisted up question, right? Okay, how does this work? Okay, why is this working like this? What happens if I change it slightly? And this friend of mine is like a world-class machine learning scientist. Okay, he just asked some slightly twisted questions and nobody could answer. He was surprised. He said, you're supposed to be one of India's best institutions. What happened? Because people don't focus on foundational stuff, people focus on the fancy stuff. Okay, that's the reality. Unfortunate reality is that. Okay, we do some software engineering interviews also. I see a lot of people who throw fancy terms at me. I ask them, okay, stop telling me terms, tell me what that does term mean. Tell me, say some of my software engineering interviews, I ask only one question. You are given two files. How do you join these two files? The SQL join, right? How do you join these two files based on the common field? That's all. My whole 1 hour interview is that question. That's it. I'll twist it, turn it, tweak it. I do everything with that. Okay. I will test your knowledge of programming, your knowledge of operating systems, your knowledge of databases, your knowledge of computer networks. I'll test everything with just one question. In 1 hour, I bloody know what you know and what you don't know with a single question. And I'll give so many cases for that you have to have the foundational stuff right to answer. Most people cannot. That's the reality. Because they don't know the foundational stuff. Everybody wants the fancy tool without knowing the foundations. That's what we want to avoid in applied AI course. At applied AI course, we focus so much on foundations because that's what is helpful in the long run. Okay, please understand that fact. Okay, sounds good. Somebody is asking about a Python course. We'll do that. Whenever we get time, we'll do that. We'll create a full-fledged Python course end to end. But right now we don't have the bandwidth. We'll certainly do that at a later point. Okay, that's the reason we are doing this. Software engineer type of course also. We're focusing on C programming language, data structures, and algorithms. The very foundational stuff. Okay, I hope that course also does well. Again, we're still working on it. Okay, so let's move on to okay, oversupply is done. Okay, let me see if there is okay. So this is a good question. So this is by Arun. He says online platforms like Kaggle and HackerEarth keep conducting machine learning competitions. How important is it to participate to get into product-based companies? Number one. Number two, is there any difference between ML engineer and product-based companies and ML engineer and service-based companies in terms of work and salary? Which is better? Very good question. So if you have time to participate in competitions, please do participate because it will give you a sense of what type of feature engineering. The best part about competitions is it will teach you two skills. The first skill it will teach you is don't have any priorities with any models. Try out all the models, and they typically basically ensemble a ton of models. That's what most Kagglers do, or most people who participate in competitions do. Number one. Number two is it teaches you a lot about data analysis and feature engineering. It's a very important skill, and that skill you can improve, and you can improve on that skill by participating in these competitions. There is an other side to the competitions, what they don't teach you, which is also very, very important skill. Competitions only teach you a small part of the whole data science life cycle. They don't teach you how to translate from a business problem to a real world problem. They don't teach you, very often, not always, they don't teach you how to obtain the data. They don't teach you how to productionize the model, how to deploy the model, how to update the model. There are all these other components of machine learning which they don't teach you. So, and that's fair, right? These competitions want to have a competition. Their objective is to have a competition. For a competition, it has to be objective. It cannot be subjective, right? There has to be some marks given or some numeric value, right? That's why they focus only on one aspect of machine learning and data science and not the whole spectrum. But in the real world, while you need this small spectrum of feature engineering techniques and modeling techniques, you also need many other things, like going from the business problem, modeling it as a machine learning problem on one side, on the other side, taking the model that you have, deciding if it is even productionizable or not, all of that stuff. To give you an example, right? All this competition started because of Netflix prize. Okay, and we have that Netflix prize as one of the case studies in the course. Netflix wanted people to compete and build a recommendation system model for their movies data set better than what they have. The world's best researchers worked on it. They built a model, but Netflix never productionized it. That's the reality. Well, the competition taught us a lot of new techniques. It pushed researchers in new directions. A lot of good value came out of it, but not for Netflix. Because the models that these people built were not even productionizable at Netflix scale. Netflix has, I think, hundreds of millions of customers. Okay, there are so many business constraints, there are so many engineering constraints that come in. So you have to take these competitions for what they are. I'm not saying they're not important. If you have time, please do that. Okay, and you can learn a couple of very interesting skills from them, but not the whole life cycle itself. Okay, having said that, there's the second part of the question, which is, I'll just take a sip of water and get back. Just give me a second, folks. Just give me a sec. Okay, so there is a second part here, which is there a difference between machine learning engineer, product-based company, and services company? Certainly, there is a difference in salary. There is a difference in quality of work. Again, it might depend on the project that you're doing. Sometimes you might get good projects even in services-based companies. Let's be realistic there, and you may get crappy projects in product-based companies. That could happen sometimes. But if you take it as an aggregate, right? If you take it across all the data scientists or all the machine learning engineers at services companies versus product-based companies, and in the long run, product-based companies tend to give you more exposure to harder problems and to a wider spectrum of problems than services companies. But in one odd case, imagine if I join a services company today, and if I start working on a project where there is nothing, right? And I have a client that I have to build a project for. So I get lots of hands-on experience versus joining a product-based company where I'm the 20th data scientist in the team. So the quality of work that I get as a 20th data scientist will be less than the first data scientist in a new project, right? So there will be that variance. But overall speaking, certainly product-based companies give you much better exposure because of the people that you're interacting with, because of the hardness of problems. It will give you much more well-rounded and much more. You'll get to work with, on an average, smarter people, on an average, not with respect to specifics, and harder problems also. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. Let's be clear there also. Okay. So yeah, this is where we are. Okay. Oh, here is a very good question with a lot of voting. So, how to understand business problems more efficiently, and what are the day-to-day tasks of a machine learning engineer? Very good questions. So, business problems, you don't understand them unless you have experience in those. Imagine if you're a 5-year or 10-year experienced software engineer, or a manager, or a product manager. You would have had a lot of experience about problems in general and how they're solved, the business problems, etc. Right? That is possible. So most of real business problem solving only comes with experience, or that's one way of learning it. Second is by reading lots of case studies on how various companies applied various technologies to solve their business problems. There are only two ways of learning it. Either you experience it yourself, or you read case studies of others who have done it. Okay, there are a lot of nice case studies of others who have done it. If you just Google search for it, for example, if you just search for let's pick any company, right? Pick, let's say, Pinterest. Just go to Pinterest, just Google for Pinterest machine learning blog. Most of these companies have machine learning or data science blogs, most of the top companies there, and they write about some of the projects that they've done. Google blog is very, very good. Google constantly publishes a ton of very nice projects that they're working on, and that's a great way for you to learn about business problems and how they have been mapped to machine learning problems. I learned most of it at Amazon, to be honest. When I joined Amazon, I did not have a lot of business exposure, but over the 5 years at Amazon, as I was part of a very fast growing organization called the advertising organization, which has grown massively in the 5 years that I was there, we got to learn a lot. I got to read a lot of documents, sit in a lot of discussions, plan a lot of new projects. So a lot of my business understanding and how business and machine learning gets connected, I understood a lot of it at Amazon, firsthand with experience. And that's when I said, how do I improve my skills? The best way I saw was to read all of these company blogs, right? There are a lot of these data science and machine learning blogs that companies put out, and they're terrific. I really love them. I even constantly on weekends I end up reading Google research blog on some of the AI and machine learning projects that they're working on. It's if you have to pick one blog, that's the blog. It's very, very good. Okay, sounds good. And the day-to-day task of a machine learning engineer. So we have a video on YouTube, if I'm not wrong. It's called the life cycle of a data science project. It has all the steps for you. Just go through that video. You have everything from, again, the day-to-day steps might change based on where your project is, right? If your project is in very early stages, you do most of the business problem understanding, business metrics defining, how to map your problem to machine learning, all of that. The second stage would be acquiring data, analyzing data, all of that. The third stage is actually building models. The fourth stage is deploying them, maintaining them. So it depends on where your project is in the life cycle, right? So the day-to-day stuff do change a lot. Okay, but let me tell you one very important thing. You don't do fancy math every day as it is shown in some movies. Okay, you do a lot of dirty work. You sit in a lot of meetings that you may not want to sit in, but it's important to sit in because they give you perspective. Okay, so while you may fancy that I'm going to do math all day, no, that's not true. Okay, you will do a lot of other things also, like understanding the business problem, obtaining data. Sometimes your data may be stored in 10 different data sets. Okay, just getting all of the data, cleaning them, combining them, talking to the teams who own the data, that itself will be a lot of work. Okay, modeling has its own challenges. Whether you have small data or large amount of data, or do you have to use deep learning models, though that's again a stage in itself. Okay, the best way, that's what we try to do in each of our case studies and projects. We take you through the whole journey very quickly, right? So the more you can cover, the better it would be. Okay, sounds good. So okay, so those are some of the questions which are highly voted, and I tried to cover most of the highly voted questions. So let's go to the live session here. Okay, so somebody is asking, I'm a working professional, so I don't get time to study except on weekends. What should I do? My suggestion for you is, if you have time on weekends, try to dedicate your whole weekend for this work. Number one. Number two is, come on, you can spare 1 hour a day, at least your commute time to work. Okay, so please spend at least, because if you try to cram everything over weekends, it is a lot of stuff to accumulate in your head. Or the other way is, during the weekends, try to cover 10 hours, try to put in 10 to 12 hours of work, 6 hours or 5 hours, right? Try to put in that effort. Now during the weekend, whatever you have read, try to revise that whole thing during the next week, during the next 5 days that you have before the next weekend. Try to revise all these concepts and try to read the notes that you've written yourself. Okay, that way, especially during your commutes or lunch break or morning hours, right? Take in some time to assimilate or to absorb this information that you've learned in the weekend or the weekdays, right? This way you can comfortably finish. If not in 4 months, you may take like 6 to 7 months, but you can comfortably finish even if you work only on weekends for about 10 hours during the weekends, and the rest of the time during the weekday you revise everything. There is a question here. I have an offer from TCS, but I want to do MS in data science. What should I do? Okay, so where do you have your MS offer in? That's the next question, right? If you have a very good university, again, it all depends on your choices. Okay, so if you want to go and work, if you want to work in the US, MS certainly is one of the easiest routes. And if you get a pretty decent university, if you have an admit at a good university and a good data science program, and if you can afford it, that's another key thing, right? Then certainly you should go do your masters, pursue your masters in data science, and look for careers after your masters. That's something that you can certainly do, right? So somebody is asking, at Applied AI course, all the content you have available for machine learning, is it covering foundations, or is there anything else than the course content we need to know to get foundational knowledge? We cover everything from foundations. Okay, we assume that you don't know what a vector is, what a scalar is, you don't know what a variable is in Python. So that's where we start. So at Applied AI course, we try to do everything from first principles, from the very foundations. There are no prerequisites whatsoever for Applied AI course, but some knowledge of programming will help you do it faster. If you know any programming language, C, C++, Java, Python, Perl, whatever it is, right? You can do it faster if you know some programming language. If you don't know some programming language, I strongly recommend you go through our free videos, check out, and if you're able to understand most of it, then only join the course. There is a reason why we have so much of free content, because we want our students to be really sure, to be really committed to putting in that effort, right? That's why we want you to check out all of the free content before you join us. That's why we recommend everyone to do that, because that way you know how much effort, how much journey you have in front of you. Okay, sounds good. So will a proper degree be better than Applied AI course? That's a very good question. So my suggestion here is this. So if you what does a degree in AI means? Most likely a master's degree. Certainly in a master's degree you have more time to learn, right? You are spending 2 years of dedicated time, right? So you get more time. Certainly you will be able to learn more subjects because you have 2 years at your disposal, right? And you're doing it full time. You're literally spending 2 years full time. Even if you take 4 courses per semester, that's almost 16 courses. Right, that's almost like 1,000 hours worth of classes, right? So my suggestion is, if you're willing to put in those 2 years full time on a master's program, that's certainly better. Okay, look at the amount of effort that you're putting in Applied AI course. It's way less than a 2-year degree, right? But if you want to transition to a machine learning role without having to do the masters, you should consider Applied AI course. And please check out our videos and do let us know what you think of them, right? But if you want to do a masters, again, masters is 2 years full-time commitment. Applied AI course is not a commitment of that sort. Okay, you got to understand that. Okay, Applied AI course you can do while you're a student or while you're a working professional or anything like that. Okay, while you will be spending 2 years full-time in a master's program where you don't make any money, you actually pay money for your master's program, whether it's an MTech or an MS. Of course, if it's an MTech in a top institution in India, you get stipend. Okay, but you have income that you're losing, and you're putting in 2 full years of effort. So certainly a full-time master's degree is something that I would recommend if you're willing to put in that effort and if you're willing to put in that sort of money. Okay, sounds good. I think these are most of the questions. Let me just move this a little here and let me see if there are other questions. Okay. So somebody's asking a good question. I have a gap of 4 years, started my own venture, shut it down, and now can I get a job as a data scientist? Will gap affect my chances of getting hired? No, don't worry about it. If you have done something worthwhile in those 2 years or 4 years that you have a gap of, nobody will nobody will question you, right? For example, let me give you an example, right? After my Yahoo Labs, I had like 15 months experience at Yahoo Labs. I quit Yahoo Labs. I started my own startup. Okay, it was a computer vision startup. A friend of mine and I started working on it. We worked on it for almost 18 months or so, 18 to 20 months. The startup was not growing as fast as we expected it, right? Actually, we built all the core technology, but we were not ready for the full. But we didn't know how to do marketing, sales, all of that stuff which were required for that product. So we said, okay, this is not going anywhere. We should go back to work. And I applied to all these roles, and they ended up very happily hiring us. Actually, they hired us in roles better than people with their own experience, because they felt that if you guys have built a startup, a product on your own, even if you have failed, you have learned a lot, and those lessons will be useful for Amazon. And we got hired at Amazon very easily, to be honest. And they actually appreciated the fact that we had this prior experience in a startup. So even if you have a gap, even if your startup has failed, if you can learn the foundations of data science, you can certainly transition to a data science role. Don't worry about this type of experience. Is valuable experience. It's not a negative experience. It's a very positive experience. Uh, so somebody is saying, can we aspire to get placed in Amazon, Microsoft, etc.? I already have 7 years experience after finishing the course. Why not? Right? Why not? So the course, we have students who have gotten placed in Microsoft, Flipkart, etc., Samsung Research, Intel, etc. So it's very possible. But to be honest, again, let me not give you a false hope here. To be honest, you got to put in a lot of effort. If you can assimilate and absorb all the content that is there in the course, finish the assignments comfortably, or finish the assignments on time, do a good set of portfolio projects, we will handhold you, right? We will handhold you to any job that you want to the best of our effort. Okay, we can get you into a top product based company. Of course, there will be slightly additional brushing up that you need on programming, data structures, algorithms that will help you with. Don't worry. Okay, if you're while going through the course, in our mock interviews that we conduct halfway and about the 80th percentage point, if you are able to comfortably meet the level of Amazon and Microsoft, right, we will certainly nurture you through the rest of the journey. We want to nurture you. We want to place more of our students in these top companies, right? Because that's a moment of pride for us, right? So if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to absorb the content and put in the hard work, we are here to help you. Okay, sounds good. So let's. So somebody is asking, do you help people build products if they have idea in the same space? Right now, we are not doing it, because building products is very, very different from building a portfolio. Building a product is a much more long-term commitment. Okay, building a product doesn't happen in 1 month or 2 months. You can solve a real-world problem and write a blog about it in 1 month. You cannot build a product end-to-end in 1 month. It typically takes a few months or even few years. And unfortunately, we do not have bandwidth to help you on that front. But we can do a prototype or a POC. We can help you with a prototype or a POC as part of your portfolio projects, right? As I told you, right, we have these 30 assignments that we have. 28 of them are assignments on some data sets. The last two are the portfolio projects that you'll work on, right? So for example, you will work on, what do you call it? So you'll be working on, so you'll be working on a portfolio project. So in those portfolio projects, you can pick up the startup idea that you have, build a first cut solution, build a very first cut solution, right? And when you build a first cut solution, you'll get an idea of what product to be built. And from there on, you can take it on your own, right? Sorry, we are not willing to provide an offline course at this point of time, because the biggest problem with offline course is we'll be limited by geography. I can only teach students in Hyderabad or maybe a couple of cities that I have to travel to, number one. Number two, the number of students that we can teach is going to be very minimal. Okay, we made a conscious choice not to do the offline as of now, because we'll not be able to help many more students than we can, right? But we do provide a lot of mentorship, help, service, all of that. And I still don't know. I mean, again, that's up to you. But the biggest problem with offline courses is we'll be limited in the number of students that we can serve and help. right? Imagine if applied AI course was only offline, right? I could probably do it in 2 cities, at most 2 cities, right? Because otherwise, I'll have to do at least 2 to 3 sessions every week, and the number of students in each session cannot be more than 200 or 300, right? So, the number of students that we can help is going to be very, very minimal. But the whole objective of why we quit our jobs and moved to teaching is because we want to help thousands of students, right? And again, the cost will increase massively because the amount of effort that got to be put in from the whole team. See, if I have more students, we can spread that expenses. Again, at the end of the day, we got to account for salaries that we have to pay to our employees. Okay, so the cost will shoot up, the accessibility will decrease. Suppose if you're a student in Delhi, if I have only courses in Hyderabad and Bangalore, you will not be able to travel, right? So it's very, very important that we do this online, and that's why we're doing it, to be honest. Okay, actually, we did some math and we said we can generate much larger revenue, right? We can create much more revenue if we do it offline, but we don't want to do it because we'll be serving very few students. Okay, please understand that. Okay, so sorry, I didn't. So I'm just looking at these questions. We continue to help offer concepts after the completion of the course. So our service is for 1 year. So anything that you need, any help you need from us for the 1 year, we do help. And once you finished all of your assignments, all of the 30 assignments, we continue our help for 6 more months till the time you get placed as part of our job guarantee or money back program. In case we cannot place you in any job in the 6 months, we refund your whole money. Okay, that's a job guarantee or job guarantee program, right? So just wanted to clarify that. We cannot extend the service to more than 1 year because the economics will not work for us, right? We have a large team which is working full time to service our students, and I cannot give you indefinite service because service requires manpower and man efforts. And if I want to give good service, I need to pay good salaries to our employees, and that costs money, fortunately or otherwise. So I cannot help. The economics will not work for us, unfortunately. Okay, so we have to limit the course validity to 1 year only. Is the video lagging? I think the video is okay. Yeah, I see the video to be okay. Okay, so can Cloudera certification help you in data science? I think Cloudera gives you certifications in big data, right? Not in data science, to the best of my knowledge. Again, I'm not up to date with some of these certifications, but the best way for you to find that is to talk to people who have these certificates and see if they're useful in their actual job interviews. That's the best way. The most I've seen is, especially when I was a recruiter myself, when I was hiring for Amazon, etc., we never cared too much about these certificates because it's so easy to get these certificates, even from top-notch education institutions like Coursera, Stanford University, etc. Right? Because I mean, I've done tons of interviews of people who have certificates from many of these institutions who do not have the skills to crack Amazon or Facebook or any even a good company interview. That's because the bar to get that certificate is so low. Okay, they don't have the foundational knowledge still, but still get a completion certificate, and hence there is a gap between what companies want and the skills that they have. Okay, that's the gap that's the gap there. That's why our course completion certificate is only if you finish all of the 30 assignments. We set a non-trivial bar. It's not like, okay, you answer ABCD, you get some certificate. No, sorry. And you can cheat in those, no? Here for our assignments, we take so much care to avoid plagiarism, to ensure that you have not copied code from anywhere without citing it, all of that stuff. So we take much more rigor. We place much more rigor in getting our students a course completion certificate. But we care more about job guarantee and getting you placed than about certificates. Okay, sounds good. Somebody is asking about how machine learning is applicable in mechanical field. Actually, we have a video on our channel. Please check that. There is a video on our channel called Machine Learning and AI for Vibration Analysis. Okay, please check that content. There's actually a very nice video that you can go through. It's already there. It's there in one of the application videos where we've discussed how. So vibration analysis is an area of mechanical engineering where you analyze the vibrations of a machine and understand and diagnose what problems it internally has, right? So that's why my suggestion here is if you can go through that video that we have on YouTube, that will be great. Okay. So is Google Colab enough for course projects? Do you have any hardware requirements? So most of our course projects, you can do them on Google Colab, certainly. The other thing is we have designed most of our course assignments such that most students can complete them even with 4 GB of RAM, right? So many of them can complete with 4 GB of RAM. Of course, it might take you more time to execute some of the programs. It might take you 1 day to run the program, right? Because if you have 4 GB of RAM, but you can finish them even on a basic laptop. We are not expecting you to have some phenomenal hardware or anything like that. Okay, so don't worry about that. So somebody is asking about finishing the course in 20 weeks. What is 20 weeks? 20 weeks. Yeah, you can do. You got to put in the effort. So think about it this way, right? Think about the number of assignments. You have 30 assignments and you have 150 hours of content, give or take, right? So try to break that into 20 weeks. I actually try to break it into 15 weeks. Every week, try to finish 10 hours of content. That could take you 15 hours or 20 hours of effort, right? So try to break that time and you can finish it in 20 weeks. 20, or better still, just go to our website and we have a schedule generator which will generate the schedule for you, which is roughly about the 20 weeks period that you're asking for. Okay. So Pratik is, okay, so what is this question? So for all the people who want to know more about the course, which I'll not be able to answer here because it's just a repetition for many other students, please go and visit our website. There are phone numbers on our website. Please call them. One of our teammates or co-founders will lift it up and they will answer that. Okay. So please go through our course videos. Again, please go through our course videos. Give us feedback on what you think and how we can improve and things like that. Right. So yeah, thanks a lot, folks. Thanks for joining in, and we are short of time. Any questions you have about the course, please shoot us an email at team@appliedaacourse.com. Just go to our website, appliedaacourse.com. You have a ton of data out there, ton of information that some of you are asking in the live chat now. All of that information is readily available on the website, right? Please go check it out. If there is any question, please shoot an email or call us. Okay, if there is a flood of calls, we will try and reach back to you as soon as we get some bandwidth. Okay, thank you, folks. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining in, especially on a Sunday morning. I'm sorry I could not answer every question because it's almost impossible to do so, right? But we'll try our best to address most of the questions. Anybody who wants to follow up, please shoot us an email or give us a call. We'll try to answer as many as we can. And thanks for joining in. Have a good day. And we'll try and conduct some more of these sessions over the in the future also, so that they're open to everyone, where we can answer at least a few questions. And we're still thinking of how best to order these questions, right? Because one idea that we had was to release an intro video and then look at the upvotes in the video section, and that's what we did for the first half of this live session, right? The problem with the live chat is it's just a feed. It's just like a massive feed that's impossible to control, right? And by the time I look at one question, by the time again I look at it, that question is already scrolled up. So I would love to hear some of your suggestions on how we can best do this. So thanks a lot, folks. Thank you very much for joining in. Have a good day. And sorry for the hiccups with the internet connection. And I'm glad I could join it on the phone. Sorry for the bad quality if you have seen some bad quality video because of the 4G connection. See you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.